The Galactic Academy's pristine halls had never witnessed such a spectacle. Prince Zixithara of the Dominion Collective stood in the center of the recreation chamber, his crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the artificial suns, mandibles clicking in rhythmic patterns that denoted supreme confidence. Around him, students from a dozen species watched with varying degrees of interest and apprehension. "I challenge the human spawn to a contest of intellect and skill," Zixithara announced, his translator rendering his chemical communications into standard galactic. "Let all witness how inferior their primitive species truly is." 8-year-old Emma Chen looked up from the pile of colorful blocks she'd been arranging, her dark eyes curious rather than intimidated. She was the youngest student ever admitted to the academy, a fact that rankled many of the older alien pupils who viewed her presence as an affront to their carefully structured hierarchies. "What kind of contest?" Emma asked, wiping her hands on her uniform. Zixithara's compound eyes glittered with malicious glee. As heir to one of the most powerful military dynasties in known space, he had been engineered for perfection from the moment of his spawning. His neural pathways had been optimized for tactical thinking, his reflexes enhanced beyond organic limitations, his knowledge banks filled with the wisdom of 1,000 conquered worlds. "A strategic simulation," he declared. "We shall each construct a virtual civilization and engage in warfare. The victor will be determined by complete subjugation of the opponent's forces." The watching students murmured among themselves. This was no mere academic exercise. Zixithara's species had perfected the art of warfare over millennia. To challenge him in this domain was tantamount to suicide. Emma tilted her head, considering. "Okay, but can we make it fun?" The prince's mandibles snapped in confusion. "Fun? This is a contest of supremacy, not entertainment." "Everything's more fun when it's entertaining," Emma replied with the unshakable logic of childhood. "How about we each build our civilizations, but instead of just fighting, we see who can make the most interesting story?" Director Veltar, the Academy's Centaurian administrator, stepped forward. Her elongated skull pulsed with bioluminescent concern. "Perhaps we should establish clearer parameters." "I accept these juvenile terms," Zixithara interrupted, his pride stung by what he perceived as the human child's attempt to avoid direct confrontation. "Prepare the simulation chamber." The holographic arena materialized around them, a vast three-dimensional space where thought became reality. Zixithara immediately began constructing his civilization with mechanical precision. Towering spires of adamantine and steel, perfectly geometric cities connected by transport tubes, massive industrial complexes that churned out increasingly sophisticated war machines. His armies emerged in precise formations, row upon row of identical soldiers, each optimized for maximum efficiency. Aerial squadrons blackened the virtual sky while ground forces assembled in mathematically perfect battle arrays. Within minutes, he had created the epitome of military might, a civilization that existed solely to conquer and consume. Emma, meanwhile, seemed to be building randomly. Her structures were chaotic by comparison, crooked towers that spiraled impossibly upward, bridges that served no apparent purpose other than their rainbow coloring, buildings that resembled animals more than functional architecture. Her people were equally diverse, some tall, some short, some with wings, others with extra arms, many with completely impractical but beautiful features. "What is this disorder?" Zixithara demanded, gesturing at Emma's creation with undisguised contempt. "It's a city where everyone's different," Emma explained, adding what appeared to be a candy factory next to a school shaped like a dragon. "Look, these people here are really good at music, and these ones over there make the best food, and those flying ones are great at telling stories from up high." Zixithara's tactical subroutines analyzed her chaotic civilization and determined it would fall within moments of his attack. "Your forces have no coordination, no standardization, no strategic value whatsoever." "They're not forces," Emma said, her hands dancing through the holographic interface as she continued building. "They're friends." The prince launched his assault with overwhelming confidence. His perfect formations swept toward Emma's ramshackle settlements like a precisely orchestrated storm. But something unexpected happened as his forces approached. Emma's people didn't fight back in any conventional sense. Instead, they began to play. The musicians started performing complex harmonies that somehow interfered with his soldiers' targeting systems. The artists painted giant murals that created optical illusions, causing his aerial squadrons to become disoriented. The storytellers began weaving tales so compelling that his ground troops stopped to listen, their programming unable to process the concept of narrative suspension. Most bizarrely, the children in Emma's civilization ran toward his advancing armies with flowers and games, treating the invasion as an opportunity for new friendships. "This is not how warfare functions," Zixathara protested, watching his meticulously planned assault dissolve into chaos as his soldiers became entangled in jump rope games and impromptu dance parties. "You said we were making a story," Emma reminded him, adding a group of helpful robots who were offering his confused troops ice cream. "Stories need to be interesting, not just about winning." As the simulation continued, something remarkable occurred. Zixathara's perfectly ordered civilization began to change. His identical soldiers started developing individual personalities influenced by their interactions with Emma's people. His geometric cities sprouted gardens and art galleries. His industrial complexes began producing toys alongside weapons. The prince watched in growing bewilderment as his empire transformed from a militaristic monolith into something vibrant and unpredictable. His tactical programming insisted this was defeat, yet his civilization was becoming more complex, more resilient, more alive. "I don't understand," he finally admitted, his voice smaller than before. "My forces were superior in every measurable way." Emma smiled, the expression radiant with childhood wisdom. "You made your people really good at fighting. But I made mine really good at being happy. Happy people make friends with everyone, even enemies. And friends help each other get better at stuff." The watching students erupted in discussion as the simulation ended. What they had witnessed defied conventional understanding of conflict and competition. Emma's civilization had achieved victory not through conquest but through transformation, changing the very nature of the contest itself. Zixathara stood in contemplative silence, his neural pathways struggling to process concepts his engineering had never accounted for. Cooperation instead of domination, creativity instead of efficiency, joy instead of mere survival. "Would you like to play again?" Emma asked, already beginning to sketch new ideas in the air. "Next time we could build a civilization that explores space just to meet new friends." For the first time in his genetically perfect existence, Prince Zixathara of the Dominion Collective discovered he wanted nothing more than to learn this strange human concept called play. And in that moment, watching an 8-year-old human child reshape reality through the sheer force of her imagination and kindness, the Galactic Academy understood why Earth's children were not just the future of their species, but possibly the future of them all.